Welcome back. All right, so let's talk about the West. I will talk about the East, don't you worry. There will be a look at the Eastern picture, too, because we're 2 months out from the playoffs. Now, what we're seeing right now is a lot of the teams that are at the top are struggling. A lot of the teams at the top are struggling. You look right now, Dallas, Colorado, both below 500 in the month of February. Vancouver's at 500, technically, although they've lost more than half their games. Vegas is 500. Edmonton's one game above 500. St. Louis at 500. Winnipeg one game above 500. It's been tough. LA's probably performing the best over the month of February, but they have to make up for January. So it's very interesting. And for the teams below the playoff line, the one that seems to be charging towards a potential playoff appearance is Minnesota. Minnesota's currently 2 points back. But we'll go through this team by team. So we're going to start with Dallas, who are leading the Central Division. They have a record of 34, 15, and 8, 25 games left in their season. So a good chance with 76 points that they end up getting to 100 points. But yeah, we'll see how it all turns out. 25 games left, 76 points. So if they go 500 from here, they'll be 101 points. Yeah, they should reach 100 points. So month of October, they were 8-1-1. November, they were 8-4-2. So there's those two first good months, right? I talk a lot about, you got to get off to a good start. By the end of November, you should have things figured out kind of thing. December, they were 9-4-1. January, 8-4-2. The month of February, 2-3-2. So for Dallas, they've got themselves quite the amount of runway. They are 16 points clear of that playoff line. No concerns in Dallas. Colorado, 35-18-4 on the season. They also have 25 games remaining. 74 points. So 2 points out of first in their division and 6 points out of first in the conference. Colorado was 6-2 in October, 9-4-1 in November, 8-5-2 in December, 9-3 in January, but in the month of February, 3-4-1. Rough road trip there. Now, one thing Colorado has going for it is their home record. Ridiculous. 22-5-0. Their away record 13-13-4, which is where they're different than Dallas. Dallas at home is 17-8-3, which is good. Not as good as Colorado's, but the away record for Dallas is excellent, 17-7-5. And I know recently, points percentage-wise, they were the best road team in the league, they being Dallas. But Colorado, they don't have to worry about the road record so much come playoff time. Their home record's fantastic. They can win some games at home. I like their chances in a first-round series. Though it would be against Winnipeg, and that could be very interesting. Winnipeg's 34-15-5 overall. They have 28 games remaining, and they have 73 points. So they have 3 games in hand on both Colorado and Dallas, but it also means they have a much busier schedule the rest of the way. So for Winnipeg, they started slow, 4-3-2, and 4-3-2 is not awful, but again, it's a little slow. 8-5 in November, and then December was fantastic, 10-1-2. January 8-3-1. The month of February 4-3. At home, 19-7-2. Away from home, 15-8-3. So they're good at home. They're good on the road. And it's going to be an interesting 3-horse race in the Central. Because whoever wins the division is likely going to get the number 1 wild card, which right now would be LA, which I think would be preferable over playing any of those top 3 Central teams, depending on how it all shakes down, right? Would I be surprised if Winnipeg maybe did rally, finish first, and we get Dallas, Colorado in the first round? I wouldn't necessarily be hugely surprised by that. I'd be intrigued by that matchup of Dallas and Colorado, and if we got Winnipeg and LA in the first round, that could be fascinating too. Then you get to these leaders in the Pacific Division. I'm wearing Vancouver. I'm wearing my Quinn Hughes jersey. Vancouver's 37-15-6 overall. They only have 24 games left, so they've played more games than everybody else. They have 80 points, so that is the lead in the West by 4 points over Dallas, who again have 1 game in hand on the Vancouver Canucks. Vancouver got off to that 6-2-1 start in October, 9-6 in the month of November, 8-2-2 in December, 10-1-2 in January. It's been a bit of a rocky run. In February, they're now 4-4-1. They've lost 3 in a row for the first time this season. How will the adversity affect them is a question that's already being asked. At home, 19-5-2. Excellent home record. On the road, 18-10-4. So despite the three losses in a row they've had, their record's still pretty solid at home and away from home. Vegas, 32-18-6 overall. They have 26 games remaining. They have 70 points, so they're 10 points out of first in the division. For the Vegas Golden Knights, they're 9-0-1 in the month of October, 6-5-3 in November, so a bit of a fallback there. December 7-5-1, January 7-5-1, and February 3-3. At home, they're 19-8-2. Away from home, a bit more of a struggle, 13-10-4. So for Vegas, they're going to want home ice in the first round. They currently have home ice. But Edmonton's right there. I knew it was a Prairie team. I picked the wrong one. Okay, Edmonton 33-18-11, basically the same place. Tell anybody from Edmonton or Winnipeg that basically they're the same place. See what happens. All right, 30 games from, or that it's like a 3-hour drive. I hear it's a 3-hour drive from Winnipeg to Edmonton. Anyway, rocket sled maybe. All right, Winnipeg has 30 games, or Winnipeg. I did it again. Edmonton 30 games remaining. 67 points. Don't make a drinking game of it. You'll be dead and I'll feel bad. So for the Oilers, they have 6 games in hand on the Canucks. They have 4 games in hand on the Vegas Golden Knights. They get off to that rough start, 2-5-1 in the month of October. November 7-7. If they'd started really, really well, they'd be right up there with Vancouver. They'd probably be ahead of Dallas. 9-3 in the month of December for the Oilers. 11-0 in January. And they've been 4-3 so far in the month of February, where, yeah, they've started to look human again. But again, they have some definite company in that area. So at home, they're 17-6-1. Away from home, they're 16-12. Then we get to the LA Kings, currently the number 1 wild card. They're 1 point back of the Oilers. They're 4 points back of Vegas. They do have 2 games in hand on Vegas, while the Oilers have 2 games in hand on the Kings. The Kings are 28-16-10 overall, and this has been a roller coaster ride for Kings fans. 5-2-2 in the month of October, 8-2-1 in November, 7-4-2 in January, or December, I should say. And then in January, they crashed 3-7-5, but February, 5-1 so far. So it's been a pretty fun ride for them in the month of February. We'll see if that continues. At home, they're 10-9-6, which is not a great record, but it's better than what it was early in the season. Away from home, they're 18-7-4, keeping in mind they won their first 11 road games this year. So since then, they've been 500. But at home, their records got a lot better. So yeah, we'll see how they round out the season here. For St. Louis, they are 29-24-2. They have 27 games remaining. They have 60 points. So they're 13 points back of the Jets. Any hope of St. Louis making up any room on the top 3, it's not going to happen. The top 3 in the Central are going to stay that way, I would think, till the end of the year, unless something disastrous happens with one of these 3 teams. For the Blues, they started 3-3-1 in October, 9-6 in the month of November, 6-8 in December, 8-4-1 in January. So far in February, they're 3-3. At home, 16-11-1. Away from home, 13-13-1. So better at home than on the road, whereas the Kings are much better on the road than at home. But again, 6 points separate LA from St. Louis. So at this point, St. Louis is kind of in this position where the best they can do is probably going to be the number 2 wild card, which would put them in a series with the Vancouver Canucks if that started today. And I'm just saying straight out, I would take the Canucks in that series because they have a very good track record against the St. Louis Blues. Dallas against LA might be a little more interesting. Vegas and Edmonton, there's a history there. Colorado and Winnipeg. So there's some fun series on the board. But Nashville could ruin it. Nashville has 26 games remaining. They also have 60 points. So they're tied in points with St. Louis. 29-25-2 overall. In October, they were 4-5, and the expectation was this was going to be a rebuilding year. November, 7-6. January wasn't a great month, but December was 9-5-1. January, 6-7-1. I have no idea why my brain wants to go right past December. February, 3-2. So at home, oddly enough, Nashville's not great at home this year. They're 14-15. On the road, they're 15-10-2. So better on the road than at home. Just one of those curiosities. Nashville normally considered to be a really good arena and, you know, an atmosphere that you would think would be conducive to victories, but for the Preds so far this year, it just hasn't been. Not at their usual rate. Minnesota 26-24-8 overall. They also have 26 games remaining. They have 58 points. So the Blues have 1 game in hand on both Nashville and Minnesota. Minnesota's 2 points back, but I do kind of like Minnesota here. They are 3-4-2 in the month of October, 4-6-2 in November, and of course they made the change behind the bench, which seems to have worked. December 9-5, January 5-8-1, so a rocky month there, and then February they've been 5-1-1. So they have 11 points in the month of February. St. Louis has 6. So they have pulled themselves back into the hunt for that playoff spot. At home, they're 14-11-4. Away from home, 12-13-2. But they've been playing well both at home and on the road recently. So we'll see if that can continue. Seattle's 23, 21, and 11. They're winning enough games to stay in the hunt, and they're making sure they don't lose in regulation often enough to stay in the hunt. But they're 3 points back at that final playoff spot. They don't have games in hand on anybody, and they'd have to pass Minnesota, Nashville, and St. Louis to make it into the playoffs. They're 23, 21, and 11 overall, so 57 points. The month of October, 3, 5, and 2, rough start. 5, 5, and 4 in November, 6, 4, and 3 in December, 7, 5, and 1 in January, and so far in February, 2, 2, and 1. That third column's just hurting them because those are points they've given away in overtime or in shootouts. Those are points you want to have if you're the Seattle Kraken that would put you into a playoff spot if you had them. At home, they're 11, 9, and 5, and away from home, they're 12, 12, and 6. So both of those numbers kind of mediocre, middle of the road, and it just leads to a team that's kind of mediocre, middle of the road. And again, I haven't seen enough from Seattle outside of that 9-game winning streak that tells me that this team's going to make the playoffs for me to say, no, they should be able to jump in. I don't see it. Calgary, depends on the day. Some days they look like, they should be a playoff team, and others it looks like these guys need to rebuild. So they're 26, 25, and 5 overall. They've got 26 games left, so they've played more games than St. Louis and the Kings, which makes it tough to catch those teams. 57 points, they're 3 points back, tied with Seattle. 2, 6, and 1 start in October, sunk them, really did. 8, 4, and 2 in the month of November, 5, 6, and 2 in December. Did it again. January 7 and 6, February 4 and 3. At home 13, 13, and 1. Away from home 13, 12, and 4. So good, not great, both at home and on the road. They've got to get that turned around, especially that home record. They got to start winning more regularly at home, and then maybe you have a chance of catching the St. Louis Blues. Arizona. So now we're into the teams that basically we can all say, they're not going to make it. Arizona's 23, 28, and 4. They have 27 games remaining. They have 50 points. They're 10 points back of a playoff spot. Month of October, they were 4 and 4. November, 7, 5, and 2. December, I remember the month that time. Man, pat myself in the back. 8 and 5 in the month of December, and then it fell apart. Just 4, 8, and 1 in the month of January. 0, 6, and 1 in February. At home, 15 and 13. So they're still above 500 at home, but on the road, 8, 15, and 4. So, and tonight they're at home against Toronto. So we'll see if they're 15 and 14 at home, or 15, 13, and 1, or 16 and 13 at home tomorrow. For Anaheim, they're 20, 33, and 2 altogether. They have 27 games remaining. They have 42 points, so 18 points out of the playoffs. Highly unlikely they're going to make it. They got off to a good start. They were 5 and 4 in October. November started good and didn't end well. 4 and 10 month of November, 4 and 9 in December, 5, 7, and 2 in January, and 2 and 3 in the month of February. At home, 8, 18, and 1, and away from home, 12, 15, and 1. So they're better on the road than they are at home. I'm not sure why that is. It's interesting because it's not like Anaheim plays a flashier game on the road, but they definitely have the better road record. It's not a great road record, but it's better than at home. San Jose started with a decent home record and a really rough road record. At any rate, they started 0-8 and 1. So I don't think it mattered where they were playing that first month of the season. But 15, 35, and 5 overall. They also have 27 games remaining, 35 points. So they're 25 points out of the playoffs. Not last in the West, though. 0-8 and 1 start in October, 5-8 and 1 in the month of November, 4-9 and 1 in December, 5-7 and 2 in January, and 1 and 3 in the month of February. I think something San Jose can strive for is maybe being 500 for a month and say, you know what, we had a decent record for this month. Whether they do it in February, March, or April, we'll see, but they have not done it so far this year. 9, 15, and 2 at home, 6, 20, and 3 away from home. This is a team that works hard, and that's how they've got to 15 wins. They wouldn't have those 15 wins if they didn't work hard. For Chicago, they also have 15 wins. They're 15, 38, and 3. They have 26 games remaining, and they have 33 points. So Chicago, the worst team in the league. 3, 6, and 0 in the month of October, 4, 8, and 0 in the month of November, 4, 9, and 2 in December, 3 and 11 in the month of January, and 1, 4, and 1 in the month of February. 11, 14, and 4, or 11, 14, and 2 at home, which isn't bad considering their overall record. Away from home, 4, 24, and 1. So on the road, it's a little more of a struggle for them, and it shows in that record. Of course, for Chicago, they have Bedard, and if they win the draft lottery, everybody will have a really normal one. But, it's interesting in the West. There's definitely a line between Calgary and Arizona. The teams from Calgary up, we can make an argument for how they could rally and make it into the playoffs. But there's only one spot that looks like it's up for grabs. You have 6 points separating LA and St. Louis. LA's playing well. You have the Oilers here with 67. You have Vegas with 70. I don't see any of them falling out. So that St. Louis spot's the one that's up for grabs for one of these four, maybe. But again, if St. Louis is pegging off a win, a loss, playing 500, it's not going to be an easy run for a team to knock them out of the playoffs. But we'll see. Let me know your thoughts. Who do you think ends up making it? And then the other side of it too is there's some teams who started slow, and I'm looking at Edmonton, I'm looking at Calgary, teams that are now, Edmonton's in the playoffs, Calgary's in the hunt. But yeah, how important are those fast starts? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe in the event that you haven't done so already. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.